naturally, is in Buffalo. The big news of the past 24 hours. Josh Allen, he's got this elbow injury, UCL sprain. He's been limited in practice. He's no sure thing to play against the Vikings. The betting market on BetMGM, they don't think he's going to play, or if he does, he'll be limited. The line has gone from -7.5 now down to -4.5 and still falling. So what are we doing from a fantasy perspective?
I want to ask about that real quickly.
Sure.
So that's what the betting market thinks. But if you think Josh Allen can play, are you better off taking the Bills right now with that line, just saying like, hey, the market's hedging a little bit?
Yeah.
Like because you used to set the lines. You did that for 5 years at a major casino. Is this one of these things where you know he's not playing, or you're just like, the public might think he's not playing, so I'm trying to hedge it a little bit to get more people to take the other side?
Yeah, it's a tough one because if he was definitely out, then I think the line would be Bills -1.5. Bills -1.5, -2 with Case Keenum. So the market is, like you said, it's hedging its bet. So if you think that Allen is going to play and be basically, he did throw it 69 yards in the air after he sprained his UCL, so maybe he's just fine. And also, Case Keenum can absolutely win that game. Case Keenum is basically as good as it gets as a backup quarterback in the NFL, professional quarterback.
Revenge game against Minnesota. Hashtag revenge game.
Yes. Right. I think yesterday when we spoke about it, when the line was still 6.5, I think the Vikings were a no-brainer at that point. But now I wouldn't be too optimistic taking the Vikings +4.
I will tell you that I picked up Case Keenum in a decent amount of leagues, and I have Josh Allen in a couple leagues, so I picked him up in obviously the leagues where I have Josh Allen. But I don't know. I feel like he plays in this one, Lawrence, or like it just. I don't know. This is a game they need. It's a game they need. And Josh Allen is one of those. Was like, I'm tough. Like this is a guy that runs in the middle. He's a cyborg. He's a cyborg. Yeah. I guess I'm not panicking yet. Am I crazy, Lawrence?
No, I was just about to say how that line is moving. I'm thinking in my head like, man, this dude playing. This dude 6'5", 245. He's the big back. He said it plenty of times. You know what I'm saying? So right now, I'm taking that line where it is. Like until we have something concrete, and it's looking like if he's limited, a guy like him, he's going to play. I saw it on TV the other day. They said the Jets took advantage of his best trait, but it was weak for him that time was his toughness, his mental and physical toughness. So I bet on him playing.
I'm going. I don't know why, but it's stupid to try to interpret a one-word tweet. But the Stephon Diggs tweet, rejoice from yesterday, what's Stephon Diggs rejoicing about, right?
This is the fun of fantasy and betting, trying to really analyze those little things. Maybe he's rejoicing he's not out for the season.
It could mean because long-term, too. That's something to rejoice about, too, for all of us because we definitely need Josh Allen in the league.
Exactly.
Matthew,
don't. Like you already took Breece Hall from us, fantasy gods. Don't take Josh Allen.
No.
They took Javonte Williams. Like don't take Josh Allen from his coach. Sean McDermott, by the way, says he's day to day. To quote Keith Olbermann, we're all day to day.
Matthew, what are we doing with Bills fantasy guys? We're obviously starting Stephon Diggs. I think you still have to start Gabe Davis. What are you doing with the team?
Yeah, and I think also, Devin Singletary, although, Singletary comes in a little bit lower for me in my ranks this week. It'll be interesting to see how much Nyheim Hines gets. Normally in a matchup, like this, where we expect to be competitive. Singletary's been really good in most games in which the Bills have been competitive. He'd be inside my top 20. He comes in at 23 in my initial ranks here. We'll see a little bit of Nyheim Hines. Also, by the way, the Vikings pretty good against the run. They're 4th against the run over the last month. The issue, of course, is that you can attack them on the edges. They are bottom 10 in the NFL in terms of most receptions and receiving yards allowed to opposing running backs, Singletary and Nyheim Hines. By the way, especially if Allen can't chuck it, 60 yards, you could see more dump offs here. But I agree with you. You're obviously starting Stephon Diggs, regardless of who the quarterback is. I think you still have to start Gabe Davis. We've talked about it. He is Mike Williams East. You cannot try to get cute and pick, spots. You're either starting him every week or you're never starting him. So I'm starting Gabe Davis if I have him on my team. And then, I'm in on Devin Singletary as a high-end flex this week.
For sure. To your point about Gabe Davis, I've actually wrote about him in my Flex Play article this week. I have Gabe Davis in it, even with Case Keenum, because, don't sleep on Case Keenum. I wouldn't sleep on him.
No, Case Keenum, again, I've said this before, and I say this in a respectful way. he's a professional quarterback. Like, he's not exciting, he's not, but can he run an offense? Can he make plays? Like, Case Keenum's fine.
Yeah.
Like, there are much worse backup quarterbacks in the NFL. There are much worse starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
You better believe it.
Than Case Keenum.
Case Keenum was in an NFC title game.
That's
not that long ago.
And they dumped him. So you know he's trying to ball against them.
That's exactly right. I'm telling you, hashtag revenge game against the Minnesota Vikings. You like that? Case Keenum, by the way, if he gets the start and he wins, he should absolutely go shirtless with gold chains afterwards, just making fun of Kirk Cousins. By the way, I don't know if you noticed what Lawrence did right there. Lawrence just mentioned his article just in casual conversation.
You got to do it.
Already 1,000%.
You just slide it on in there.
1,000%. You're fitting into the show immediately. Well done, Lawrence.
Yeah. Josh Allen, he's not practicing today as well. That's just come in.
Okay,
so
but
we'll
it's
see
a
what
Wednesday.
happens.
Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
But I think the biggest takeaway here is it's obviously a massive story that we'll continue to track throughout the week. Mm-hmm. If you have Josh Allen, only Josh Allen, have a contingency plan. Whether it is picking up Case Keenum or somebody else on your waiver wire, just have a contingency plan. Just be aware that there's a possibility Josh Allen could miss this week.
Yep, and if Josh Allen even if he's limited, you're obviously starting Josh Allen no matter what happens.
If Josh Allen's active for the Bills, he's active for you.
Yep. Okay, let's move to Tampa Bay. Let's move to Germany, where the Athletic's Greg Allman has written that the momentum will likely be with Rachaad White at the end of the season in Tampa's backfield. Hasn't been a great year to date for Leonard Fournette. Lawrence, any concerns about starting Leonard Fournette in Munich?
So this week, I would say nah, because the Seahawks are the 8th worst team versus running backs in fantasy thus far. But, there's always a but. Rachaad White is closing that gap, man. As you can see it right there, the snap percentage doesn't look, that much in Rachaad White's favor. But if you look at the touches, and especially the touches recently, he's starting to get closer. And if the Bucs are not lighting it up on offense, then why not integrate, Rachaad White just a little bit more? You know what I'm saying?
I think I agree with you, Lawrence, in this. So, are you starting Leonard Fournette? You're starting Leonard Fournette.
Yes,
I am ranked 14th. But is there cause for concern? Of course there is. He's had 3 straight games with under 10 rushers. He's had 3 straight games with fewer than 25 rushing yards. And the Seahawks defense has played better as of recently. Yep. I mean, we talked about this yesterday. For whatever reason, the Seahawks, with a winning record, are underdogs to the 3-5?
4 and 5 now.
4 and 5 Tampa Bay. Sorry, the 4 and 5 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Give me the Seahawks money line here.
Yep.
And
don't mess around with points.
Definitely betting with I would easily bet them with the points as well at BetMGM, promo code Barry. Just so you know, I'm pulling a Lawrence right here. In there.
Pulling an LJ.
Right, exactly. But we've said this throughout the year. Rachaad White needs to be rostered in every league. Every week, he's getting more and more trust with Tom Brady. Every week, he's getting more and more touches. I don't think if you have Tom Brady as your quarterback, I don't think you're ever shutting it down and playing for next year, especially in that division. They'll be able to, as bad as that division is, they'll
first place.
Right. I mean, exactly. They're awful, but they're in first place. I mean, but still, Fournette, who's had injury issues in his career, if anything were to happen to him, Rachaad White would be interesting. And as they're trying to find different ways to get this offense going, Rachaad White is a younger player who gives them a bit of a spark.
Yep, no, I'm with you there. Let's go to Dallas, where chief trainer, medical expert Jerry Jones has said that he expects Zeke Elliott, who I think that Jerry considers the most important player on the team, narrowly in front of Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons, expects him to play in Week 10 in Lambeau against the Packers, where the Cowboys are 5.5-point favorites against Aaron Rodgers. Matthew, Zeke, and Pollard, are they both startable in Week 10 against a pretty bad Packers rushing defense?
I mean, that's the point, right? Over the last 4 weeks, the Green Bay Packers are 29th against the run, right?
Feels like overs.
Right,
Feels like 30 seconds.
Exactly. They're a bottom 3 rush defense over the last month. And so Ezekiel Elliott, who's, believe it or not, averaging 16 fantasy points in his last 2 games. He's played over 60% of the snaps in 5 of the 7 games that he's played so far this year. I think both guys are viable. So, I think, Zeke I have at running back 15. I have Ezekiel Elliott. I actually have at 29, so I have them reversed. But, you'll see them come closer together. Zeke did practice today, so my ranks were done last night. Now that Zeke has practiced, you'll see Zeke move up more in my ranks, and maybe he'll be less limited here. He is touchdown dependent. Ezekiel Elliott is literally that should be his legal name, Ezekiel Elliott, touchdown dependent RB2. But So I think you'll see more of an even split. But yeah, I mean, like come hell or high water, Zeke is getting the ball in a good matchup because Jerry Jones wants him to.
Yep. Lawrence, what do you got here? Starting both of them against the Packers?
Yeah, got to it. And I don't think Jerry thinks Zeke is the most important player right now. He thinks he's the most important player in Dallas Cowboys history.
Yes.
Now think about that.
Bye-bye Troy Aikman.
Yeah. So Tony Pollard here getting 13-plus touches in 4 of 6 games with Ezekiel Elliott. So you have to love that. Not only that, Tony Pollard just elevating his game anyway, you know what I'm saying? So they was never going to give him a full workload. He didn't get that the week without Zeke, but he went off, though. But that's what we expect of Tony Pollard. We expect Tony Pollard to be efficient, right? And we expect Zeke to steal away those goal line touchdowns. So, yeah, get them both in that flex spot.
3 different times this year, the Packers have allowed multiple running backs to get at least 75 yards from scrimmage. I think there's probably a pretty good chance Zeke gets into the end zone, as Lawrence says here. And I do think, Tony Pollard's good for a big play or two. In the 6 games that Ezekiel Elliott has played this year, Tony Pollard's had at least 13 touches in 4 of those 6 games here. And going off of what he did the last time we saw Tony Pollard, he's earned a bigger workload. I think this is going to be like a 1A, 1B thing going forward, especially with Zeke maybe less than 100%, and Pollard proving, what kind of a spark he gives here. But both guys are viable against Green Bay this week, no question.
Yep. All right, let's go to Pittsburgh, where friend of the show, Mike Florio, tweeted out that Jaylen Warren is likely to see more touches at the expense of Najee Harris. Lawrence, is Jaylen Warren, is he more of just an insurance back going forward, or can he take over this backfield?
Can he take it over? Yes, he can. Is it going to be this week? I don't think so, but he's going to get more involved. Mike Tomlin said it himself, called him a quality back who makes plays. Well, yeah, duh, we can all see that. Yards per carry, a big thing out here, especially in the fantasy world, and Jaylen Warren's getting 5.3 per carry to Najee Harris's 3.3. We don't love that. So this is the thing now. Najee Harris is already, along with Kyle Pitts, one of the top busts in fantasy this year. What's that going to be like when Warren gets even more involved? That's my thinking about it.
Yep. So we take a look at Najee Harris's game log past 5 games. I mean, these are very kind of seminal Najee Harris stats with getting the carries, getting the touches, but just not getting the efficiency, topping out at 74 yards on the ground. What are we doing in this backfield, Matthew?
I think you're probably still starting Najee Harris because you have to. I trust the reporting, that Florio is putting out there, and it's not a shock. Najee Harris has been bad. I mean, all the Trent Richardson 2.0 jokes, like he's been bad. But there's nothing about this run game or this offense that makes you think like, oh, well, if Jaylen Warren could just get 20 touches, he would explode in this thing. Like, he's looked better than Najee Harris in limited time, but again, the whole offense hasn't looked great. You don't love this matchup with the New Orleans Saints. I know Kenyon Drake just ran all over him, but
he didn't really though. Like, he got 24 carries for 93 yards.
It was some bully yards.
Right.
Bully yards.
It's some bully yards, and he gets into the end zone, and by the way, you have to defend the run against Baltimore with Lamar Jackson much differently than you have to defend it against Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. And so, when you have a guy like Lamar Jackson, it just opens up lanes because you're just so scared of him running for 40 yards. And so, I'm with Lawrence here. Like, I think Jaylen Warren should be rostered. I haven't looked at the roster trends on Yahoo yet, but I would suspect that Jaylen Warren was a very popular pickup. We talked about him yesterday on the show. Jay, he should be, but I can't imagine starting him this week.
Yeah, nah.
And so, like, Najee Harris, you're probably starting. You don't feel great about it, but like he comes in at running back 19 for me in this one, just because who's most likely to score a touchdown in that backfield? It's probably Najee Harris. He's still probably likely to get 15 touches, and who knows? Maybe you never know with Tomlin, right? Is this legit, or is this just him floating that out there, like letting us source, just like just trying to hey Najee, we know you were a first round pick from Alabama, but things are different. Like, let's go.
Kind of reminds me of the David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert situation to a lesser degree with Najee Harris in the David Montgomery role, where he is more of he's the number one guy, he's entrenched, he's getting the volume, but maybe ultimately Jaylen Warren is really the man you want to love.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Maybe. We'll see. He definitely needs to be rostered, but it's one of those, like, let's wait and see. Like, I would want him on my roster, but I wouldn't want to start him this week. And certainly if you have Najee Harris, if you invested a late first round, early second rounder in Najee Harris, hopefully you've already had Jalen Warren on your team.
And hopefully you've been drinking as well, because that's not
clinging on a hope
as well.
Dude, listen, and if you need an excuse to drink, watch a Steelers game.
Yeah. It's not pretty. All right, we're going to go to break. When we come back, keep it open or close it out, because we're at a bar. Continuing with the bar
That's
theme.
right, we are. That's right. It's the happy hour show. We'll be back. Me, Jay, and Lawrence. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.